Matt Barnes, everybody, on what could be a very, very big night, 7-year anniversary of when the whole thing started in 2015, and who knows, could be another championship tonight. Matt, how you been, man? What's going on?
Oh, not much, man. Just as excited as everyone else to kind of see Game 6 tonight and see what happens.
What do you see in this particular matchup? It feels like for the majority of the series, or at least certainly through 3 games, and even through 4, most observers felt like the Celtics kind of had something there, and then Steph's great performance in 4 switched the momentum of the whole thing, but I don't know that I've ever fully bought into that idea that the Celtics really had the X's and O's here. What do you see when you watch the matchup?
Before the series started, I picked Golden State in 7, and it was solely because their experience and the fact that they've been through the finals before, and there's so many ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and you see that the Celtics have kind of succumbed to some runs and some moments with turnovers and bad play, or not bad play, just inconsistent play from their role players. Yet Golden State has continued to find a way to overcome all the hurdles that are thrown at you in the finals. The fact that, Steph had an off night, he's been amazing the first 4 games, had an off night in Game 5, and everyone else was able to pick up his slack and still beat Boston by 10. To me, that shows this team has depth and the experience isn't overwhelming. And I'm not saying that this experience at the finals is overwhelming for Boston, but everyone that's been in the finals knows about the finals. The first time you're there, you're wide-eyed, and you're going to learn so much from each and every game and every experience. So I think, I still have Golden State obviously winning it, but I think this is really going to serve Boston's young core well for the upcoming years.
Do you think Boston's young core has one last final punch to make tonight? And if they are able to get this Game 6 tonight at home, how does it go for Boston for them to be able to turn things around after a disappointing Game 5?
Well, I think, I don't want to underestimate Boston because they are a very tough, young, talented team. And, after Game 1, my whole thing, and I think Draymond kind of uttered the same sentiments, can their role players be as big of factors as they were in Game 1 where they went into San Francisco and stole Game 1. And since then, they haven't been able to be. Al Horford came out with 26 points in Game 1, and if you take that game away, since then he's only averaging 7.5. Who else am I thinking of? Grant Williams hasn't necessarily played well. White has been up and down, but pretty consistent. The few consistencies they've had is Marcus Smart's kind of been their barometer. He's, stayed consistent with his points and his efforts on both ends. And then Tatum and Brown. So, to me, for Boston to go home tonight and obviously realize it's win or go home, it's not going to be about their stars. I feel like it's going to be about their role players. And obviously role players play better at home. And do guys like, Al Horford and Grant Williams and White and guys like that play better tonight because they're going to need it.
Matt, I'd love to hear you speak on the series that Draymond Green has had. It's been a lot of talk and T-shirts and chants in Boston and whatnot. And I know you played a very tough version of basketball on the floor, and our producer asked me the other day, is Draymond underrated, overrated, or correctly rated? And I was kind of like, it depends on who's doing the rating. I think he's probably underrated, but I think the word that comes to my mind is misunderstood. And I wonder if you could speak to that. How do you sort of, when you play that brand of basketball, how does the world see you versus what's actually reality?
I think that we live in a society that is so number driven. People want to look at the stat sheet to kind of predict, or to kind of see what the outcome of the game was. But I think in Draymond's case, the stat sheet is really the last thing that kind of can tell his effectiveness or his ineffectiveness on the court. To me, he's the heart and soul of this team, and the one player without scoring a lot of points that can completely control the offensive end, because he's really the quarterback and gets everyone in their positions and gets their shots. And then obviously we all know how talented he is on the defensive end. Personally, it's really to each his own. Some people are really having a problem with him podcasting after every game, but it's not like he just started podcasting after every game in the finals. He's been doing this, for a while now. And I think the fact that his numbers haven't been his typical finals numbers I think everyone is trying to take shots at him now, saying he's not focused, he's not this, he's not that. But, I mean, Draymond is one of the smartest and highest IQ basketball players I know. He knows how important each game is, and he's, readily admitted that he hasn't necessarily played well numbers-wise. So, I thought he played really solid last game. And then, to me, on the offensive end, I just think he needs to continue to hold Boston accountable because they're not really respecting his game, whether it's shooting or getting to the basket. You saw last game, he, fake dribble handoffs, getting downhill, when able to put some pressure on the defense. I feel his sweet spot. I feel like the Warriors are at their best when he's between like that 10 to 12 point range, and then, he'll give you 8 assists and 8 rebounds and a handful of steals and some blocks. So the only thing he and I have actually talked about this, and I told him, just stay, everything else will come. I'll just stay aggressive, make them respect and honor you on the offensive end. And I think he did a good job of that last game. So I expect him to continue to carry on this game, understanding that, they're one win away from, history.
And defensively, he's been solid, even though matchup-wise he can't guard Brown or Tatum, and he struggles to guard Marcus Smart. But Klay Thompson defensively has been so solid. And how about Andrew Wiggins and what he's done individually guarding Jason Tatum?
I mean, Jason Tatum and Brown are mismatches, and this is all due respect to anyone in the league. I don't even think Marcus Smart can guard them. I mean, he was Defensive Player of the Year. So these are two young, agile wings that they can score at all different levels. And Draymond has just done a good job of trying to stay in front and be physical. And, really it's been more of a team defensive effort trying to contain these guys and understanding that, if these guys, if they're going to take 20, if they're going to have 30 points, I want them to take 25 or 30 shots. Andrew Wiggins has done a tremendous job and really feel like he's really almost come into his own, although he's had an all-star season. Just his ability to, I think that, although there's pressure playing in the finals, I don't think there's pressure on him because on the other teams, he's always had to be the top dog. I always got to lead my team in scoring. And I feel like he's really comfortable understanding, with all due respect, he's a third or fourth option on this team. So I think that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off him on both ends, and he's able to just freely play his game because he has been a tremendous talent. But really the effort he's put in on the defensive end has been amazing. And then Klay, Klay's coming off of, a 2.5 year layoff. So the one thing that I said right when he came back is I think the last thing that'll come back to him is his lateral quickness. And, I was pretty, accurate with that. And I think that's still, coming to what it was because Klay, to me, was one of the most underrated defenders in the league. Really being a student of the game and getting a chance to play with these guys, all the pressure he always took off of Steph when he would guard Kyrie or he would guard Dame or CJ or just always took the toughest matchups. Coming back from injury, he hasn't necessarily had that lateral speed that he had in the past, but you can see really day by day it's continuing to improve. So Klay's been very solid. Andrew Wiggins has been a star on the defensive end, and we know, what kind of player Draymond is. I mean, he's a 4-5 trying to guard a 2. Name another center in the league that can guard a 2 guard. There's not any of them out there. So, again, it's a defensive team effort for the Warriors, and they've got 2 in a row, so they're trying to go for 3 tonight to close this series out.
Matt Barnes with us here on 95.7 The Game, and you referenced it there when you came back to the team in 2017 and therefore were teammates with these guys. I wonder what some of your observations are in certain moments for them. For instance, Steph Curry is coming off of his first game in 3 years where he did not hit a 3. What do you think that means for him in terms of how he'll respond to that? What does he do in the locker room after those moments and to get ready for the next?
I mean, I don't think there's really any change in his approach. I mean, he's been tremendous, averaging nearly 35 points a game in these finals up until, last game when he had 16, but I just, everyone has an off night. We're just not used to Steph Curry having off nights. He looked human last game, which is rare for us. He's been such a treat on the offensive end for, people who don't even like him, but if you're a fan of him, he's been playing beautiful basketball. So I don't really think he changes his approach. He just had an off night, and that happens sometimes to shooters, but again, everyone else around him was able to step up. And if you think about it, this Warrior team hasn't necessarily had, 2 guys hit on all cylinders at the same time, which kind of scares me. The legend of Klay, Game 6 Klay is looming. Steph coming off a subpar shooting game. So, I would love to see tonight that Klay, Steph, Tatum, and Brown are all on fire and let the best team win.
When it comes to a game like this, a closeout game, and you were there in 2017, how much is the possible post-game celebration percolating in your mind as far as exactly how you're going to get after it?
I mean, I don't think that's crossed anybody's mind right now. I think the goal is to understand that we're going to go into a hostile environment against a very good, young, hungry team, and we got to handle business. And if we handle business, the celebration is second nature. You know, these guys have won 3 championships. The celebration is like waking up every day. So they know how to do that well. But they have the mindset, similar to what they did in Cleveland to get their first ring. Let's win it in Boston and come back to California as champions.
Matt, how the boys doing, and how many years until their lottery picks?
Boys are well, man. They're 13. We're grinding on the AAU circuit, having a blast, actually making a TV show about their team because we have one of the top 13 U teams in the country. So they're 2027. So it'll be some time before they're ready to go, man. But it's been a blast, being able to retire and transition because of these are my games now. Me being able to coach my kids and their teammates has been an absolute joy for me post-career.
Who do you emulate yourself after coaching-wise? Are you one of these hot-headed guys? Are you more of a laid-back coach?
I think I'm a cross between, the Phil Jackson, Steve Kerr. If I put you on the court, I trust you. But then at the same time, Matt Barnes' fire is always in my body. So when these refs start acting up, I used to get fined $2,500 per tee. Now these tees are free. So on average, I'm probably averaging maybe 3 or 4 tees per tournament because I don't have to pay for them anymore. So I think I'm a nice breed. But with the kids, it's different, kind of understanding how to communicate with, young teenagers. And it's not so much about talking at them, it's talking to them and talking with them. So my whole approach on coaching is really the mental aspect of the game and really giving these kids the respect, but at the same time kind of teach them what's coming for them.
I love it. So what is your frustration move? Is it a right foot stamp? Is it a glare? Is it a fist? Is it a fist swing? What's the frustration move?
It's probably just cuss words at the ref.
Okay.
No body action. Just using my mouth to the fullest extent.
And remember, as long as you don't personalize it, I'm going to give you a little bit of leash, Matt. I'm an official, so if you make it personal, if it's blank you, we've got a problem, Matt.
Hey, and I've made it personal.
Yeah.
Matt, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Lace him up, Matt. I'm going to have to get out there and put you to the test.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Matt, there he goes. It's Matt Barnes, who has no problem cussing at refs.